The circulatory system. The circulatory system is also called the cardiovascular system. It is an organ system that permits blood to circulate and transport nutrients such as amino acids and electrolytes, oxygen, carbon dioxide, hormones, and blood cells to and from cells in the body to nourish it and help to fight diseases, stabilize body temperature and pH, and to maintain homeostasis. This organ system is important, though all of the organ systems are important. It is because circulatory system carries and transports elements all over the body. There are three components of circulatory system. They are blood, heart, and blood vessels. The blood. It is a connective tissue that delivers the hormones, nutrients, oxygen to the tissues, collects metabolic waste products and carbon dioxide, contains foreign elements which can protect against foreign infecting materials, and maintains body temperature. Without blood, there will be no transportation of oxygen, and we will have no protection against infections and diseases. There are two components of blood. The first one is plasma, and the second one is form elements or blood cells, which are red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets. Plasma. The composition of plasma is 92% water, 7% proteins, which compose of albumins, globulins, and fibrinogen, and other organic compounds. The four functions of plasma are: osmotic pressure of the body liquids and pH factor is kept on the constant and regulated level because of albumins and electrolytes. It transports nutritious substances, oxygen, carbon dioxide, harmful products of nitric compounds, metabolism, and hormones. It also has protective function because of globulins. And the last one is fibrinogen that dissolve in plasma can metamorphose into fibrin that prevents bleeding. The three types of form cells or blood cells. The first one is red blood cells. It is also called as erythrocytes. It's shaped like a slightly indented and flattened disc. It is iron-rich protein hemoglobin. The blood contains more red blood cells than any other type of cell. Blood gets its bright red color when hemoglobin picks up oxygen in the lungs. Each red blood cell has a lifespan of about 4 months or 120 days. Each day, the blood produces new red blood cells to replace those that die or are lost from the body by continuous production in the bone marrow. White blood cells. It is also called as leukocytes. It is the key part of the body system for defending itself against infection. The blood contains far fewer than RBCs, or red blood cells. White blood cells, called granulocytes and lymphocytes, travel along the walls of blood vessels. They fight germs such as bacteria and viruses, and may also attempt to destroy cells that have become infected or have changed into cancer cells. Certain types of white blood cells produce antibodies, which are special proteins that recognize foreign materials and help the body destroy or neutralize them. The white cell count in someone with an infection is often higher than usual because more white blood cells are being produced or are entering the bloodstream to battle the infection. Lymphocytes remember how to make the specific antibodies that will quickly attack the same germ if it enters the body again. When the white blood cells are not fully developed, this is called blasts or leukemia cells. This is called the cancer of the blood or leukemia. Symptoms may include bleeding and bruising problems, feeling very tired, and an increased risk of infections. These symptoms occur due to a lack of normal blood cells. Platelets. It is also called thrombocytes. It is a tiny oval-shaped cells made in the bone marrow, and they help in blood clotting process. Blood platelets is in low level when you have dengue, and they will monitor your blood platelet count regularly because it is like the basis of the stage of the dengue. Blood clotting is one of the three mechanisms that reduce the loss of blood from broken blood vessels. These three mechanisms are vascular spasm. The smooth muscle in the blood vessel wall contracts immediately when the blood vessel is broken. This response reduces blood loss for some time, while the other hemostatic mechanisms become active. Platelet plug formation. When blood platelets encounter a damaged blood vessel, they form a platelet plug to help to close the gap in the broken blood vessel. And the third one is blood clotting or coagulation. It is the process by which blood is transformed into a solid state. Three stages of blood clotting. First is the formation of protothrombinase, which is formed in two ways, intrinsic system and extrinsic system. The second one is protothrombin converted into the enzyme thrombin protothrombinase, which is formed in stage 1, which is a plasma protein that is formed in the liver into the enzyme thrombin. And the last, fibrinogen soluble converted to fibrin insoluble. In turn, thrombin converts fibrinogen into fibrin and forms the threads that bind the clot. Blood clotting is helpful because it reduces the loss of blood, but there are negative consequences of it. The first one is thrombosis. It happens when blood cells clot too quickly or easily. And the second one is hemorrhage, when blood takes too long to clot. And the third one is hemophilia. It is a hereditary disorder in which certain blood clotting factors are missing from the blood, as a result of which the blood cannot form clots without medical intervention. Blood vessels. They are an intricate network of tubes that transport blood throughout the entire body. The diagram shows that the red part with arrows to the left transport the blood by the artery and arteriole and connect to capillaries. The blue part transport the blood from the capillaries back to the heart by the venules and veins. Kinds of blood vessels. Arteries. The walls or outer structure of the arteries contain smooth muscle fiber that contract and relax under the instruction of the sympathetic nervous system. It functions as the transportation of blood away from the heart and the transportation of oxygenated blood only. Arterioles. They are tiny branches of arteries that lead to capillaries. They are also under the control of sympathetic nervous system and constrict and dilate to regulate blood flow. Arterioles transport blood from arteries to capillaries. They are the regulators of blood flow and pressure. Capillaries are tiny blood vessels of approximately 5 to 20 micrometers, networks of capillaries in most of the organs and tissues of the body. Capillaries is the point of exchange between the veins and the arteries, and vice versa, or remove waste from the surrounding cells as opposed to simply moving the blood around the body, as in the case of the other blood vessels. Capillaries exchange oxygen, carbon dioxide, water, salts, etc. between the blood and surrounding body tissues. Venules are minute vessels that drain blood from capillaries and into veins. Many venules unite to form a vein. Its function is to drain blood from capillaries into veins for return to the heart. Veins. The walls or outer structure of veins consist of three layers of tissues that are thinner and less elastic than the corresponding layers of arteries. Its function is to transport blood towards the heart and transport the oxygenated blood only.
Hello there, ako si Mix at magdi-discuss ako ngayon tungkol sa blood groups. Alam nyo ba, pag mag-mix ka ng blood ng dalawang individuals, maglilid dito ng blood clumping or agglutination. Ang club red cells ay pwedeng mag-crack at mag-cause ng toxic reactions at pwede mo itong ikamatay. Buti na lang, na-discover ni Karl Landsteiner na ang blood clumping na ito ay isa lamang na immunological reaction o sa madaling salita, ang receiver ng blood transfusion ay may antibodies na rene-reject ang blood donor cells. Although kamukha ni Karl Landsteiner si Hitler, hindi niya ito kasing sama. Sa katotohanan nga isa siyang Nobel Prize winner in medicine noong 1930 at dahil sa kanyang discovery, na-determine ang iba't ibang blood groups na necessary para maging safe ang blood transfusions. Ano-ano nga ba ang mga blood groups na yun? Ang una ko i-discuss ay ang ABO blood grouping system. Ayon sa system na ito, may 4 na blood groups. Yun ang A blood group, AB blood group, B blood group, at O blood group. Pansinin nyo, meron mga figures na nakapalibot sa mga groups na ito. Ang tawag sa nakapalibot na figures sa blood groups ay antigens. Ang antigens ang nagsisilbing indicators kung anong blood group nakapabilang ang blood. Sa aking illustration, ang antigens ng group A ay color violet at ang antigens naman ng group B ay blue-green. Meron din tayong tinatawag na antibodies, which is ang function ay mag-detect ng foreign substances at i-destroy ito. Sa A group system, ang antibodies ay color blue-green, meaning dinedetect ng antibodies ang antigen ng group B at i-attack niya ito. Sa B group naman, ang antigens ay color blue-green at ang antibodies ay color violet. Sa blood transfusion, tatanggap lamang ang B group ng B antigens o ang color blue-green. I-attack naman ng antibodies ng B group ang antigens ng group A, meaning ang kaya lang tanggapin ng blood type B ay mga B antigens o yung mga blue-green lamang. Ang blood type AB naman ay may dalawang klaseng antigens. Meron siyang antigen A at antigen B. Tinatawag ang group AB na universal recipient kasi pwede siyang tumanggap ng kahit anong antigen kasi wala naman siyang antibodies. Kaya sa blood transfusion, kahit blood type A or blood type B ang donor, swak na swak pa din sa kanya. Bangis, no? Type O. By the way, isa rin akong blood type O. Share ko lang. Pero alam nyo ba, ang blood type O ay walang antigens. So parang forever alone. Hindi siya katulad ng blood type A na kahit anong blood type pwede mag-donate. Meron dalawang klaseng antibodies ang blood type O. Ang antibody A at ang antibody B. Meaning, rene-reject niya ang antigens ng A at B. On the other hand, tinatawag naman ang blood type O na universal donor kasi pwede siya mag-donate sa kahit sinong blood type. Bali ganito, pwede ang blood type O magbigay pero hindi siya pwedeng bigyan. Maliban na lang kung kapwa blood type O. Ang sad, no? Although may 30 other blood systems pa, maliban sa ABO blood grouping system, itatakal ko din ang RH blood grouping system. Compared sa ABO blood grouping system, mas madali at straightforward to. It is either you have it or not. Therefore, kung may antigen or so-called Rh factor ka, then you are Rh positive. While kung wala kang antigen, then you are Rh negative. A person who has Rh positive blood can receive Rh negative blood anytime without problems, while a person with Rh negative blood can receive Rh positive blood, but they will develop antibodies against it. Tongue twister talaga. Ngayon naman, i-discuss ko naman ang functions and structures of the heart. Alam naman natin na ang heart ay nagpapump ng blood around our body through the blood vessels of our circulatory systems. Ang tanong, paano nga ba? O ito, isang illustration ng cross-section of the heart. Meron tayong dalawang top chambers at dalawang bottom chambers. Ang dalawang chambers na ito ay pinagdadaluyan ng blood as the heart contracts. Tinatawag na atria ang dalawang top chambers at nahati ito sa dalawa. Ito ang right atrium at ang left atrium. Sa dalawang bottom chambers naman ay tinatawag na ventricles. Right and left din sila, tulad ng atria. Ang difference naman ng dalawang ito ay ang atria ay located sa upper portion of the heart, meaning they receive the blood from the body and from the lungs. Ang right atrium ay nagre-receive ng blood from the body, while the left atrium ay nagre-receive ng blood from the lungs. Pag nag-contract naman ng heart, dadaloy ang blood from the right atrium to the right ventricle at ang blood from the left atrium to the left ventricle. Ang function naman ng ventricles ay ang paglabas naman ngayon ng blood from the heart to the rest of the body. Ang right ventricle ay maglalabas ng blood to the lungs, while the left ventricle ay maglalabas ng blood to the body. Sa gitna naman ng atrium at ventricles, may tinatawag tayong valves. At ine-ensure ng valves na dumadaloy ang blood sa isang direction lamang. One direction. Sa middle naman ng heart, may thick wall called septum. Importante ito kasi sineseparate niya ang deoxygenated blood sa oxygenated blood. Kasi alam mo na mangyayari pag hindi, di ba? Stick. Para mas lalo nating magets, isa pang illustration. Yung color blue na blood na dumadaloy sa right atrium ay ang deoxygenated blood. Samantalang ang red na blood na dumadaloy sa left atrium ay ang oxygenated blood. Pag-contract ng heart, mapapansin natin na dumaloy ang mga blood sa ventricles. Pag-contract naman ng ventricles, sinesend nila ang blood through the valves papuntang pulmonary artery na papuntang lungs para ma-oxygenated ang deoxygenated na blood. At papunta namang aorta yung mga oxygenated blood na may oxygen na para pumunta na sa ibang parte ng ating katawan.
We'll now discuss pulmonary circulation and systematic circulation. So when a heart contracts and forces blood into the blood vessels, there is a certain path that the blood follows through the body. The blood moves through pulmonary circulation and then continues on through systematic circulation. So humans and other mammals have two circulatory systems. First, the pulmonary circulation, and second is the other circuit for the rest of the body, or it is also known as the systematic circulation. So here's a picture of the pulmonary circuit and the systematic circuit. And later on, we will discuss how these two is different from one another. We'll discuss pulmonary circulation. So it is the movement of blood from the heart to the lungs and back to the heart again. The part of the circulatory system that transports the oxygenated blood from the right side of the heart to the lungs and return the oxygenated to the left side of the heart. So how this blood becomes deoxygenated? So blood that is lacking oxygen is said to be deoxygenated. This blood has just exchanged oxygen from carbon dioxide across cell membranes and now contains mostly carbon dioxide. So the oxygenated blood enters the right atrium through the superior vena cava and the inferior vena cava. So this is a picture of a pulmonary circuit. So in other words, as the blood enters the right atrium, it goes to the lungs through the pulmonary arteries and leaves the lungs through the capillary beds in lungs and go through the pulmonary veins going to the left atrium and left ventricle. This is how the pulmonary circuit is the systematic circulation. So what is systematic circulation? It is the part of the cardiovascular system which carries oxygenated blood away from the heart to the body and returns the oxygenated blood back to the heart. In the systematic circulation, which serves the body except for the lungs, oxygenated blood from the lungs returns to the heart from two pairs of the pulmonary veins, a pair from each lung. So how this systematic circuit works? This systematic circulation works is, it is the movement of blood from the heart through the body to provide oxygen and nutrients, and bringing the oxygenated blood back to the heart. So, oxygen-rich blood from the lungs leaves the pulmonary circulation when it enters the left atrium through the pulmonary veins. The blood is then pumped through the mitral valve into the left ventricle. From the left ventricle, blood is pumped through the aortic valve and into the aorta. Aorta is the body's largest artery. The aorta arches and branches into major arteries to the upper body before passing through the diaphragm, where it branches further into arteries which supply the lower parts of the body. The arteries branch into small arteries, arterioles, and finally, capillaries. Waste and carbon dioxide diffuse out of the cell into the blood, while oxygen in the blood diffuses out of the blood and into the cell. The deoxygenated blood continues through the capillaries which merge into venules, then veins, and finally the venae cava, which drain into the right atrium of the heart. From the right atrium, the blood will travel through the pulmonary circulation to be deoxygenated before returning again to the circulation. So from the right atrium, the blood will travel again to the pulmonary circulation to be oxygenated before returning again to the system circulation. Coronary circulation, blood supply to the heart muscle itself, is also part of the systematic circulation. So this systematic circulation is like the second phase of the pulmonary circulation. As the blood enters the left ventricle and left atrium, it goes through the body, through the systematic arteries, which is now oxygenated, and now leaves through the systematic capillary beds going through systematic veins, right ventricle, which are now in the deoxygenated blood, and return to the right atrium and then return again to the lungs to be oxygenated. So it's like systematic circuit is now the supply of the oxygenated blood through our body. So now we will discuss how to keep your heart happy. So we have 5 ways of keeping your heart happy. First, you need to exercise. Remember that your heart is a muscle. If you want it to be strong, you need to exercise. So how to do it? It is by being active in a way that gets you huffing and puffing, like jumping rope, dancing, or playing basketball. Try to be active every day for at least 30 minutes. An hour would be even better for your heart. So let's be active, let's exercise, let's like jog, dancing, or playing basketball. So eat a variety of healthy foods and avoid foods high in unhealthy fats, such as saturated fats and trans fats. Reading the label on foods can help you figure out if your favorite snacks contain these unhealthy ingredients, so like junk foods. We should also not to eat salty foods or too much sugar. Next is try to eat at least 5 servings of fruits and vegetable each day. So it doesn't necessarily that you eat a meal which is pure of vegetables and fruits, but we should eat vegetable fruits because it's good for our heart and health also. Next is avoid soft drinks. Next is avoid sugary soft drinks and fruit drinks. So it doesn't necessarily the fruit drinks that is bad, but it's the sugar. It's too much sugar in it. Like soft drinks, we all know that soft drinks is bad because it has acids and too much sugar. Next is don't smoke. So we are all familiar with that. We all know that by not smoking, our heart will be healthy. So it can damage the heart and blood vessels. There are many posters, advertisements, and many more that suggest that we don't smoke. We can see in posters that they are comparing the heart of the smokers and the non-smokers. So DOH is aiming for non-smoking. So as the government thinks that we can minimize smoking is that we add tax in it, the sin tax. So now you know that your heart doesn't look like a Valentine, but it sure deserves to be loved for all the work it does. It started pumping blood before you were born and will continue pumping throughout your whole life. So by keeping your heart healthy, your life will be sure as long as you want.
Ngayon, dumako naman tayo sa lymphatic system. Ang lymphatic system ay makikita sa lahat ng tissue, maliban sa central nervous system, bone marrow, at ilang pang tissue na walang blood vessel katulad ng cartilage. Sinasabi nila ng scientista sa parte ng blood at circulatory system ang lymphatic system dahil halos magkatulad ang mga vessel nito. Pinabalik ng lymphatic system ang mga tubig at proteins mula sa tissue pabalik sa bloodstream. Kung wala ang prosesong ito, ang body tissue ay mamamaga. Namamaga ito sapagkat nagkakaroon dito ng napakaraming tubig na dapat mapunta sa bloodstream kung gumagana ang lymphatic system. Marahil, pamilyar kayo sa sakit na elephantiasis. Ang sakit na ito ay nakukuha kapag di gumagana na maayos ang ating lymphatic system. Isa pa sa ginagawa ng lymphatic system ay protektahan tayo sa ilang sakit. Dinedepensahan tayo dito sa mga viruses, bacteria o fungi na maaaring maging sanhi ng mga sakit. Sinasala ito ng lymph nodes. Pinipigilan din ng lymph nodes na kumalat ang infeksyon sa katawan sa pamamagitan ng pagtatrap nito sa mga disease-causing germs at pagpatay dito sa tulong ng antibody na pinoproduce ng lymphocytes. Ang antibodies na ito ay pinapatay ang mga bakteryang pwedeng maging sanhi ng sakit. Ang spleen ay isa rin parte ng lymphatic system. Kapag ang dugo ay dumaan sa spleen, kukunin ng spleen ang damaged cells at papatay nito sa pamamagitan ng white blood cells o macrophages. Bukod dito, nakakatulong din ang lymphatic vessel upang maabsorb ang mga lipids sa ating katawan. Ina-absorb ng lymph vessel o plaqueals ang lipids at protein mula sa villi ng small intestine. Ngayon, tumako naman tayo sa component ng lymphatic system. Ang lymphatic system ay binubuo ng lymph, lymphatic vessel, at lymphatic organs. Ngunit ang lymphatic vessel ay di kayo didiscuss sapagkat ito ay bahagi na na-report ng susunod na magsasalita. Ano nga ba ang lymph? Marahil, pamilyar kayo na ang dugo ay dumadaloy sa blood vessel. Kapag ang fluid mula sa blood plasma ay dumaan sa walls ng capillaries at nakalabas dito, ang fluid na ito ay tinatawag na interstitial fluid. Ang interstitial fluid ay kukunin ng lymphatic vessel. Kapag napunta ang interstitial fluid sa lymphatic vessel, ang tubig na ito ay tatawagin na lymph. Hindi katulad ng blood vessel, tinatangay na lymphatic vessel ang fluid mula sa tissue. Ang tawag sa pinakamaliit na lymphatic vessel ay lymph capillaries. Lymphatic trunks naman ang tawag sa pinagsama-samang lymphatic vessels. Ang lymphatic ducts naman ay matatagpuan matapos sa puntahan ng lymph ang nagsamang lymphatic trunks. Dinidrain ng lymphatic duct ang lymph at natitirang lymph ay dinidrain ng thoracic duct. At doon natatapos ang aking pag-uulat. Ako nga pala si Johnny Lejurin. Magandang araw po.
Lymphatic organ comprises a network of lymphatic vessels that carry a clear fluid called lymph, the almost colorless fluid that carries cells that help fight infection and disease directionally towards the heart. Lymphatic organs include, first, lymph nodes. So this is an example of lymph nodes. Lymph nodes are small bean-shaped structures that are usually less than 2.5 centimeters in length. Lymph nodes are organized collection of lymphoid tissue through which the lymph passes on its way back to the blood. They act as filters or traps for foreign particles and are important in the proper functioning of the immune system. There are 3 superficial regions on each side of the body where lymph nodes tend to cluster. These areas are the inguinal nodes in the groin, the axillary nodes in the armpit, and the cervical nodes in the neck. The next is tonsils. There are 3 groups of tonsils. The first is the pharyngeal tonsils or adenoids. These are located near the opening of the nasal cavity into the pharynx. When these tonsils become enlarged, they may interfere with breathing and are called adenoids. The next is the palatine tonsils. These are the ones that are located near the opening at the oral cavity into the pharynx. The third one is the lingual tonsils. These are located on the posterior or back surface of the tongue. Spleen. The spleen is an organ in the upper far left part of the abdomen, to the left of the stomach. It acts as a filter for blood as part of the immune system. All red blood cells are recycled in the spleen, and platelets and white blood cells are stored there. The spleen also helps fight certain kinds of bacteria that cause pneumonia and meningitis. The spleen consists of 2 types of tissue called white pulp and red pulp. The white pulp is lymphatic tissue consisting mainly of lymphocytes around arteries. The red pulp consists of venous sinuses filled with blood and cords of lymphatic cells. Thymus. The thymus is a lymphoid gland comprised of 2 identically sized lobes, located behind the sternum and in front of the heart. It is a specialized organ of the immune system. The function of the thymus is to promote the maturation of the T lymphocytes or T cells. Problems of the lymphatic system. Lymphadenopathy is a term meaning disease of the lymph nodes. It is, however, almost synonymously used with swollen or enlarged lymph nodes. Here you can see a picture of a person with a lymphadenopathy. Next is the lymphadenitis. Lymphadenitis occurs when the glands become enlarged by swelling or inflammation, often in response to bacteria, viruses, or fungi. Here's a picture of a person with a lymphadenitis. Next is lymphomas. It is a group of blood cell tumors that develop from lymphocytes. This is a picture of a developing tumor. Next is splenomegaly. It is an enlargement of the spleen. Here you can see a picture of a normal spleen and the one with splenomegaly. Next is tonsillitis. Tonsillitis is inflammation of the tonsils most commonly caused by viral or bacterial infection. Symptoms may include sore throat and fever. You can see here a picture of a mouse with tonsillitis. The lymphatic organs include, first, lymph nodes. So this is an example of a lymph node. Lymph nodes are small bean-shaped structures that are usually less than 2.5 centimeters in length. Lymph nodes are organized collection of lymphoid tissue through which the lymph passes on its way back to the blood. They act as filters or traps for foreign particles and are important in the proper functioning of the immune system. There are 3 superficial regions on each side of the body where lymph nodes tend to cluster. These areas are the inguinal nodes in the groin, the axillary nodes in the armpit, and the cervical nodes in the neck. Tonsils. There are 3 groups of tonsils. First is the pharyngeal tonsils or adenoids. The pharyngeal tonsils are located near the opening of the nasal cavity into the pharynx. When these tonsils become enlarged, they may interfere with breathing and are called adenoids. Next is the palatine tonsils. These are the ones that are located near the opening at the oral cavity into the pharynx. Next is lingual tonsils. These are located on the posterior or back surface of the tongue, which also places them near the opening of the oral cavity into the pharynx. Spleen. The spleen is an organ in the upper far left part of the abdomen, to the left of the stomach. It acts as a filter for blood as part of the immune system. All red blood cells are recycled in the spleen, and platelets and white blood cells are stored there. The spleen also helps fight certain kinds of bacteria that cause pneumonia and meningitis. The spleen consists of 2 types of tissue called the white pulp and the red pulp. The white pulp is lymphatic tissue consisting mainly of lymphocytes around arteries. The red pulp consists of venous sinuses filled with blood and cords of lymphatic cells. Thymus. The thymus is a lymphoid gland comprised of 2 identically sized lobes, located behind the sternum and in front of the heart. It is a specialized organ of the immune system. The function of the thymus is to promote the maturation of T lymphocytes or T cells. After the lymphocytes have matured, they enter the blood and go to other lymphatic organs where they help provide defense against disease. Problems of the lymphatic system. Lymphadenopathy is a term meaning disease of the lymph nodes. It is, however, almost synonymously used with swollen or enlarged lymph nodes. This is a condition where the lymph nodes became swollen or enlarged, usually because of a nearby infection. You can see here a picture of a person with lymphadenopathy. Next is lymphadenitis. Lymphadenitis occurs when the glands become enlarged by swelling or inflammation, often in response to bacteria, viruses, or fungi. Here you can see an example of a person with lymphadenitis. The infection can cause the skin overlying the lymph node to swell, redden, and feel warm and tender to the touch. Lymphoma is a group of blood cell tumors that develop from lymphocytes. It starts in the lymph nodes when lymphocytes undergo changes and start to multiply out of control. The lymph nodes swell, and the cancer cells crowd out healthy cells and may cause tumors in the other parts of the body. Here is a picture of a tumor. Next is splenomegaly. It is an enlargement of the spleen. You can see here a picture of a person with a normal spleen and the one with splenomegaly. The last is tonsillitis. It is an inflammation of the tonsils, most commonly caused by viral or bacterial infection. Symptoms may include sore throat and fever. Tonsillitis is caused by an infection of the tonsils, the lymphoid tissues in the back of the mouth at the top of the throat that normally help to filter out bacteria. When the tonsils are infected, they become swollen and inflamed, and can cause the sore throat, fever, and difficulty swallowing. The infection can also spread to the throat and surrounding areas, causing pain and inflammation.